The listening post floated in the darkness of deep space, far from the busy trade routes of the Galactic Empire. It was quiet duty, the kind of assignment given to officers who were not trusted with anything important. Days passed without incident. The crew monitored their screens, drank bitter station coffee, and stared at the same endless black. Then, without warning, alarm screamed. Lieutenant Maris almost spilled his drink as red lights flashed across the control deck. Contact detected. The sensor officer shouted, his voice tight with confusion. Sector 9 Theta. Fast approach. Maris frowned. Sector 9 Theta was empty space. Nothing should come from there. No ships, no stations, no wormholes. Put it on the main display, he ordered. The screen showed. A thing just static and flickers of light. The object's signal appeared, vanished, then appeared again in a different position. It was as if the unknown ship was skipping across space. Is it a stealth craft? Maris asked. No, sir, the sensor officer replied. I don't know what it is. Our scanners can't get a lock. It's not using warp, hyperdrive, ion propulsion, anything. He stopped, staring at his readings. It just crossed 3 light minutes in less than 2 seconds. That's impossible, Maris said. Check your instruments. I already did. 3 times. Before they could react further, the contact appeared right outside the station. Close enough to fill the entire viewport. It was a sleek, dark vessel with no visible engines, no glowing thrusters. Nothing to suggest how it moved. The crew stared in silence. Even the hum of the station seemed to fade. Then a voice came over the comms, not in Imperial code, not in any language the translator recognized. But somehow everyone understood the meaning. We seek no war, but we will not be stopped. Identify. Yourself, Maris said, his voice shaking. This is Imperial space. You are ordered to power down and prepare to be boarded. No response came. The ship simply vanished, not jumped to hyperspace, not cloaked. 1 second it was there. The next it was gone, as if it had never existed. Where did it go? Maris demanded. The sensor officer was pale, sir. It's gone. Completely. I can't even find ion residue. It's like it stepped out of space itself. The crew scrambled to search every sector, but nothing appeared. For 2 hours they worked in tense silence. Then, as suddenly as before, the object returned, this time behind the station again. The voice came, "We will pass through. Do not interfere." The captain of the station, an older officer named Reth Voss, arrived on the deck. He looked at the readings, then at the strange vessel. That ship, he said slowly. It's human. Maris blinked. Humans. That's impossible. They're a pre-FTL species. They can't even reach their own moons without chemical rockets. That's what the records say, Voss replied, eyes narrowing. But that ship is using technology I've never seen. If it is human, then the records are wrong. The Empire's official database listed humanity as contained. A primitive species confined to a single star system, under observation for eventual integration. No jump drives. No interstellar colonies. Certainly no ability to defy the laws of physics, yet here one of their ships was. Sitting in the heart of Imperial space, Voss gave the order to lock tractor beams. Massive energy fields reached out from the station and passed right through the ship as if it wasn't there. The readings didn't even register resistance. Report, Voss barked. The technician swallowed hard. It's not in normal space, sir. Our beams can't catch what isn't. Dare. Before anyone could act, the ship blinked out of existence. Once more, the comms officer screamed. Sir, I'm getting reports from Outpost L-47 that ship just appeared there. That's 6 light-years away. Voss stared at the void where the vessel had been. A cold feeling crept through him. If this was real, if a primitive world had unlocked travel beyond light speed, beyond hyperspace, beyond space itself, then the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted in ways the Empire was not prepared for. Somewhere in the darkness, the human ship moved again, unseen, unstoppable, obeying no law of physics known to the galaxy. And every officer aboard the listening post felt the same truth settle over them like a shadow. The Empire had just seen something it could not understand, And what they could not understand, they could not control. The Imperial Science Council, gathered in a secure chamber deep beneath the Capitol. The walls were shielded against every kind of scan, the air heavy with tension. A single holoscreen in the center showed grainy recordings from the listening post, the strange black ship, appearing and vanishing, its movements impossible to predict. Dr. Kelron, lead physicist, stood before the council. "I have run the data through every known model," he began, his voice uneasy. "If these readings are correct, that ship does not obey the laws of physics as we understand them." One of the high counselors leaned forward. "Explain." Brought up a diagram. "Travels faster than light without generating a hyperspace wake. Changes position without any sign of acceleration or inertia. Energy readings are inconsistent. At some points it emits zero energy. At others it produces surges greater than the combined output of an Imperial fleet. None of this should be possible." Another counselor scoffed. "So it's a fake." "Sensor glitches." Kelron shook his head. "Multiple outposts recorded the same thing, across vast distances at the same time." "This is no glitch." He paused, then added quietly, "and the ship is human." The room went silent. Everyone knew the records humans were supposed to be a primitive pre-FTL species under observation. They had no jump drives, no wormhole tech, no advanced weapons. For them to suddenly appear in deep space, in a ship like this, was unthinkable. "Counselor," Varys broke the silence, "we can't allow them to spread, if they have this technology." She didn't finish the sentence, but everyone understood. Still, before the military could act, Kelron had his own plan. That night, in secret, he sent a coded message through old smuggler channels, a message meant for the humans. He offered information about the Empire in exchange for seeing their ship up close. 2 days later, his request was answered. The meeting took place in the shadow of a drifting asteroid. Kelron arrived in a small research craft, alone. As his ship floated near the rock, the human vessel appeared beside him, not from hyperspace, not from cloak, but simply out of nothing. The airlock of his ship hissed open, and a human stepped inside. The man wore a simple dark uniform, no armor, no weapons. He looked completely ordinary, till he spoke. "You wanted to understand," the human said. His voice was calm, but carried a weight Kelron couldn't describe. Kelron nodded. "Your ship, it defies our science. No mass displacement, no time dilation. You move like you're ignoring reality itself." "How?" The human smiled faintly. "Your physics is correct, but only for your universe." Kelron frowned. "Do you mean don't move through your space?" the human explained. "We step between spaces. To us, distance is optional." Kelron's mind spun. "You mean you're using alternate dimensions? Parallel realities?" The human didn't answer directly. "We seek no war, Doctor. But if your people try to cage us, they will find they can't." Before Kelron could ask more, his ship's alarms blared. Imperial scouts were approaching. Fast. Somehow they had tracked him. The human tapped the wall of his own vessel. A ripple of light ran across its surface, and the entire craft shimmered. Kelron's scanners went wild. One moment the human ship was beside him. The next, it was 6 light years away, according to the readings. The time between was less than a heartbeat. The Imperial scouts arrived seconds later, demanding Kelron's surrender. He gave them nothing. When he was finally brought before the High Council again, the news had already spread. The human vessel had appeared near a mining colony. In another sector, disabling Imperial patrols without firing a single shot. Every system it visited told the same story. No hyperspace jump detected, no warning, no way to stop it. The Empire gave the phenomenon a classification, Class Omega Anomaly. A threat so far beyond understanding that standard defense protocols were meaningless. In quiet corners of the galaxy, whispers began. If humans could move like that, if they could appear anywhere, at any time, what else could they do? And more importantly, why were they here? The Galactic Empire had faced many enemies over the centuries: pirate fleets, rogue AI, insectoids, swarms from the Outer Rim, but never something like this in the Emperor's war chamber. Admirals and strategists gathered around a glowing star map. The black ship, human-made, had been sighted in 5 separate systems over the last week. No matter how far apart those systems were, the vessel always arrived instantly, leaving no hyperspace trail to follow. "This is not a..." Raider Admiral Krass said, his voice like iron. "It's a scout. The humans are testing us, learning our defenses." The Emperor's gaze was cold, and they must be destroyed before they become a threat. Authorized first strike protocol. A fleet of 30 warships was chosen. These were the finest in the Imperial Navy, battlecruisers, interceptors, and carriers, armed with the most advanced weapons in the Empire. They would intercept the human vessel at the Jorith Relay, a choke point in space where traffic was funneled through a narrow corridor of safe navigation. The trap was set. On the day of the operation, the human ship appeared exactly where Imperial intelligence predicted. It floated calmly near the relay, its dark hull gleaming under the faint light of a distant sun. Admiral Krass opened a channel. "Unidentified vessel, this is the Galactic Empire. Power down your systems and prepare for boarding. You will not be warned again." There was no reply. The ship did not move, did not aim weapons, did not even appear to acknowledge the fleet surrounding it. Krass gave the order. "Activate interdiction fields." A shimmering blue lattice spread around the human vessel. These fields were designed to trap any ship, disabling warp, hyperdrives, and even experimental slipstream drives. No one had ever escaped one, but the human ship simply phased. One moment it was inside the trap, the next it was outside, hovering directly behind the send led Imperial battlecruiser. Before the fleet could react, bright pulses of light rippled from the strange ship. Every Imperial vessel froze, engines shut down, weapons went dark. Shields collapsed. On the bridges of the disabled warships, crew members shouted in confusion. Power systems offline. Weapons unresponsive. Krass slammed a fist on his console. "What did they hit us with?" Sensors showed no heat signatures, no energy spikes, no physical projectiles. Whatever the humans had done, it wasn't an attack in the traditional sense. It was as if the laws of cause and effect had been rewritten around the Imperial fleet. Then a voice came across all channels, clear and calm. "We will not harm you. But we will not be stopped." A moment later, every Imperial system flickered back to life. The human ship was gone. When the fleet limped back to the capital, Krass was forced to deliver his report in front of the High Council. "They could have destroyed us," he admitted bitterly. "But they didn't. They wanted to show us something that we have no power over them." The junior counselor, pale with fear, asked if they can disable us at will. "What happens if they decide not to show mercy next time?" No one in the chamber had an answer. The incident spread quickly through whispers in the Navy. Captains who had seen the human ship spoke of weapons that left no trace, maneuvers that bent reality, and a calm voice that promised peace, but hinted at unshakable resolve. The official Imperial stance became clear. The humans were a Class Omega anomaly, and every fleet was to report sightings immediately. But behind closed doors, many officers privately admitted the truth. Even if the Empire sent 1,000 ships, a thief would not be able to catch one. Somewhere in the dark, the human vessel moved again. It was not fleeing. It was not hiding. It was simply passing through. And every time it appeared, the galaxy felt a little smaller, and the power of the Empire felt a little less certain. Deep beneath the Imperial capital, in a vault sealed for millennia, a historian named Arik Voss studied forgotten data archives. His task was simple: confirm if any past records mentioned technology like the human ship. Most believed the search was pointless. Ships like that had never existed in the Empire's recorded history, but Arik found something. It was buried in a fragment of an ancient war log, written in a language so old it was no longer spoken. The log described a vessel that could appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly, unaffected by gravity, time, or energy limits. The last note in the record was chilling. "We failed to stop them. Then they vanished." Arik's hands trembled. The date. On the file was over 4 million years old. The High Council listened in silence as Arik presented his findings. "This is not the first time we have seen this kind of technology," he said. "The last civilization to wield it disappeared without a trace." Counselor Vares leaned forward. "Are you suggesting these humans have recovered lost technology?" "It is the only explanation that fits the evidence," Arik replied. "They may not have built it themselves. They might have found it somewhere." The idea was disturbing. If humans had discovered technology powerful enough to erase an ancient empire, what else might they be hiding? Meanwhile, far from the capital, Imperial spies tracked the human ship. But something strange happened. Identical ships began appearing across the galaxy, sometimes in 2 or 3 systems at once. Admiral Krass reviewed the reports. "Either they have a fleet," he said, "or that single ship can be in multiple places at the same time." His intelligence officer shook his head. "We've compared scans. Each sighting shows the same energy signature, the same hole markings, the same micro-scratches on the surface plating. It's not copies. It's the same ship." Krass stared at the data. "Then they aren't just traveling through space. They're doing something else, something we don't understand." In a quiet meeting aboard a neutral space station, the human captain met with Arik Voss himself. "You found the records," the captain said calmly, as if he already knew. Arik nodded. "Yes, that tech of yours destroyed a civilization millions of years ago. Is that what will happen to us?" The captain looked at him for a long moment. "We are not them. We don't seek war. But your empire, it seeks control. We will not be controlled." Arik swallowed. "Then tell me, how do you move through space without traveling through it?" The human's lips curved in the faintest smile. "We don't move through space. We move around it." Before Arik could ask more, the human ship vanished, leaving nothing but empty docking clamps. In the Imperial war room, the situation was growing worse. Trade routes were being disrupted. Mining worlds were switching allegiance. Smugglers claimed to receive goods from human ships before they even placed the order. Counselor Vares slammed her hand on the table. "If they can be everywhere, at any time, then nowhere in the Empire is safe." The Emperor's voice was quiet, but final. "Then find where they got that technology. If it exists, it can be taken. And if it cannot be taken, it must be destroyed." But deep down, even the most loyal Imperial officers began to fear the truth that the humans had not just found lost technology. They had found something greater, something the galaxy was never meant to possess. And unlike the civilization from the old records, the humans had no intention of vanishing. For centuries, the Galactic Empire controlled every major trade route. If a world wanted food, medicine, or building materials, it had to buy them through Imperial channels and at Imperial prices. Planets that refused were blockaded, starved into obedience. But then the humans began to trade. At first, it was small, a shipment of rare metals appearing overnight on a struggling mining world, medical supplies showing up on a plague-stricken colony, food arriving before a famine could take hold. These deliveries came without warning, without payment, and without any trace of how they got there. Soon, every Outer Rim world knew the truth. The humans could bring goods anywhere instantly, without using Imperial routes. On the agricultural moon of Duras V, farmers gathered in the market square as crates appeared in the center of town. They weren't dropped from orbit. They weren't teleported. 1 second the space was empty, the next it wasn't. Inside were advanced farming tools, seeds from worlds thousands of light years away, even fresh water. When Imperial inspectors demanded to know where it came from, the farmers simply said it arrived. The Empire's economy began to strain. Merchants complained that their profits were vanishing. Governors demanded action. The High Council accused the humans of economic sabotage. Admiral Krass called an emergency meeting. "They're not just delivering goods," he said. "They're delivering freedom. Every world that accepts their help is one less world loyal to the Empire." A blockade was ordered. Imperial warships surrounded the largest human trading route, or at least where they thought the route was. The blockade didn't work. The human ships never passed through Imperial lines. Goods still arrived on every world as if the blockade didn't exist. And worse, the blockading fleets themselves began receiving human shipments of food and fuel. The message was clear: you cannot stop us. On the mining world of Ven Prime, Governor Tolric watched as the population cheered the arrival of human traders. "They're undermining imperial order," he hissed to his advisors, but even his own security forces were starting to favor the humans. They asked nothing in return. One officer said quietly, "They just help." Tolric reported the situation to the High Council, only to be told to hold the line until reinforcements arrived. But he knew reinforcements wouldn't matter. Humans didn't need to fight to win. By the third month, imperial propaganda began to flood the holonets. News feeds called the humans reality, thieves, and unlawful anomalies. Images showed them as shadowy invaders, bent on destroying the galaxy's order. But on frontier worlds, people had seen the truth. The humans didn't conquer, they liberated. And for many, that was worth more than loyalty to the Empire. A private meeting aboard an Imperial dreadnought. Admiral Krass faced the Emperor. "We're losing control," Krass admitted. "Not because they're stronger, but because they're faster, smarter, and everywhere." The Emperor's eyes narrowed. "Then take their technology. If you can't, destroy it." Krass hesitated. "We've tried. We can't catch them, can't track them, and can't even predict where they'll appear next. They don't follow our rules. They don't follow anyone's rules." The Emperor leaned forward, his voice low. "Then we will make new rules." But in the shadows of the galaxy, the humans kept moving, not with fleets, not with armies, but with a kind of power the Empire had never faced before, the ability to break its grip without firing a shot, and for the first time in centuries, worlds under Imperial control began to believe something dangerous. Maybe the Empire could fall. The Vargas Rift was a dangerous place. Nebulas of swirling gas, collapsing stars, and unpredictable gravitational waves made navigation treacherous. Even experienced Imperial pilots avoided it. But the Empire saw it as the perfect trap. Admiral Krass laid out the plan. "If we cannot catch the human ship in open space, we will force it into a place where it cannot escape. The rift will do that." A fleet of 50 warships moved into position, each armed with interdiction nets, graviton anchors, and weapons capable of tearing planets apart. The corridor of safe space through the rift would be sealed. Any ship that entered without Imperial clearance would be trapped, mobilized, and destroyed. The humans had no warning. When the first scout reported a strange vessel approaching, Krass felt a surge of confidence. The human ship appeared in the rift just as predicted, moving as if it had no care in the world. "Open a channel," Krass ordered. "Unidentified ship." He said, voice steady, "You are entering restricted space. Power down and submit. You have no chance of escape." The human ship did not respond. It drifted calmly toward the heart of the rift, the gas clouds reflecting faintly off its sleek hull. The trap was sprung. Interdiction fields locked in place, graviton nets fired. The fleet braced for resistance. Imperial officers watched as the readings confirmed their success. The human ship appeared frozen in space. Krass allowed himself a small smile. "Prepare. Boarding teams," he said. "We've got them." But then the impossible happened. The human ship shimmered. At first, it was subtle, a distortion, a faint ripple across its surface. Then, in a heartbeat, it vanished from the sensors entirely. Krass's console erupted in alarms. "Where is it?" The ship had reappeared behind the lead Imperial battlecruiser. All weapons locked on it, all defenses prepared. But it was as if the fleet was firing at shadows. Projectiles and energy beams passed through the ship harmlessly. The human voice came over the comms, calm and mocking. "Your rules do not bind us. Step aside." Krass gritted his teeth. "Fire anyway." But nothing happened. Systems refused to respond. Engines, weapons, shields, all inactive, as if the human ship's presence had rewritten the laws around them. Meanwhile, Sensors detected a second, third, fourth manifestation of the ship in different parts of the rift. Every attempt to trap or attack it failed. The humans had turned the trap into a demonstration. They could be anywhere, anytime, and no weapon or field could touch them. The fleet began to panic. Officers shouted over the comms. Pilots tried to maneuver, but every move was anticipated. Every angle countered. It was not skill, it was reality itself bending around the humans. Crass realized the truth too late. They're not confined by the rift, he admitted. They're not confined by space. They're stepping outside of it.
Yes.
In a final, terrifying move, the human ship blinked. Every Imperial warship in the corridor flickered, and for a moment, some felt as though they had vanished too, only to reappear elsewhere in the rift, confused and shaken. When the sensors stabilized, the human vessel had vanished entirely from the rift, and then, far away, a broadcast appeared on all channels simultaneously. We pass where we will. Your traps cannot hold us. The Imperial fleet retreated in shame. Officers whispered rumors of impossible powers, of a species that could rewrite the laws of space. Admirals who had once claimed humans were primitive now feared them openly. Admiral Crass returned to the capital, defeated not by firepower, but by understanding a horrifying truth: humans did not need to fight to win. They simply moved in ways the Empire could not comprehend. And somewhere, far beyond the rift, the human ship continued its silent journey, unstoppable, untouchable, and completely unconcerned with Imperial authority. The Empire had learned its lesson the hard way. There were no traps that could contain humans. No fields, no weapons, no laws could hold them. The galaxy would never see them the same way again. The human ship appeared in the Imperial capital system without warning. It hovered near the edge of the Emperor's palace orbit, dark and silent, its hull reflecting the light of the nearby star. Imperial sensors went wild trying to detect its movement, but it did not move in any way they could understand. The Emperor's advisors crowded around the war room displays, their faces pale. Every channel in the system broadcast the same message: end the subjugation of frontier worlds. Stop your forced control, or face consequences beyond your understanding. The Emperor's voice was calm but sharp. They cannot make demands of me. Admiral Crass nodded. They are bluffing, sire. They have never attacked anyone. They are sending a warning, nothing more. The Emperor shook his head. Bluff or not, this is the first time any human has spoken directly to me. We will reply firmly. The Empire's fleet mobilized at once. Hundreds of ships spread across the capital system, forming a ring of firepower designed to intimidate the human vessel. Energy beams charged. Interdiction fields shimmered. Weapons locked on target. The human ship did not move. It did not retreat. It did not attack. It simply stayed in orbit, silent and calm, waiting. Then the broadcast returned. We will not attack without reason, but your aggression will not go unanswered. We can appear anywhere, can act before you even know what is happening. Your fleets are fragile. Your fleets are temporary. Crass clenched his fists. Sir, they're mocking us. They're telling us our defenses mean nothing. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. Then we will respond with force. Imperial ships fired their first volleys. Massive energy beams cut through space toward the human vessel. Every sensor on every ship lit up with readings of incredible power, beams striking, shields holding, but nothing happened. The human ship remained untouched. The beams passed through its hull as if it were not there. Then it blinked. In the instant it vanished from one position, it appeared simultaneously at 3 other locations around the capital system. The human voice spoke again, calm and cold. This is your last warning. Stop your subjugation. End the oppression of frontier worlds. Refuse, and you will cease to exist. The Emperor froze. The words were not idle threats, reports from distant sectors confirmed them. Imperial fleets previously stationed hundreds of light years away were disappearing from history, not destroyed, erased. Entire ship logs vanished. Strategic stations that had existed for decades simply no longer appeared. On star charts, Crass whispered, Sire. They are not attacking. They are rewriting reality. The room went silent. The idea was incomprehensible. No weapon, no experiment, no technology could erase matter from the galaxy, let alone fleets, outposts, and records. Yet the humans had done it. The Emperor sat back in his throne, eyes cold but thoughtful. This species, it is not like any we have faced. They do not play by our rules. Their power is beyond war. They are detachable. Crass nodded grimly. They demand obedience. And if ignored, they will make the cost of defiance absolute. Across the galaxy, worlds that had suffered under Imperial control watched the events unfold. For the first time in centuries, the thought of resisting the Empire was no longer impossible. Humans were not invaders. They were liberators. And they were unstoppable. The human ship did not attack further. It did not fire on the capital system, simply waited, hovering at the edge of Imperial space. And then, in the blink of an eye, it vanished again. The fleets that had tried to stop it were intact for now. But logs, reports, and even some fleets in distant sectors were gone. Officers whispered in fear, "We are not safe anywhere." The Emperor leaned back, lips pressed in a thin line. "We have faced many enemies. None have commanded the universe without fighting. None have shown us the limits of our laws. These humans. They are a force beyond our comprehension." Crass turned away, knowing he would have to report the truth to the High Council. "Sire, they have made their point. There is no stopping them. And every day we delay, their influence grows." The human message echoed in everyone's mind. End your control or cease to exist. And for the first time, the Empire realized something terrifying. The humans did not need to attack. Their presence alone was enough to challenge the might of the entire galaxy. The countdown to the Empire's reckoning had already begun. The Imperial High Council gathered for an emergency session. Every system had reported sightings of the human vessel. Every fleet had experienced its impossible movements. And every colony whispered the same truth. Humans could appear anywhere, at any time, and no Imperial weapon could touch them. The Emperor sat at the head of the chamber, expression cold and unreadable. "The humans have made their demands," he said. "End oppression, stop subjugation, or be destroyed." Councillor Varus spoke first, voice sharp. "We cannot bow to a species that was considered primitive. This is unacceptable. They are threatening the very foundations of the Empire." Admiral Crass, pale and tense, shook his head. "Sire, it is no threat of attack. Their capabilities are beyond anything we have ever faced. If we resist, they will erase us. Entire fleets, stations, even our history could vanish. Cannot fight them with force." The Emperor's gaze was steady. "Then we must find another way." "Diplomacy?" Crass hesitated. "They do not respond to diplomacy as we know it. They have already proven that they can act before we even understand their intentions. To negotiate is to gamble with extinction." Meanwhile, far beyond Imperial space, the human ship moved silently. It passed through systems where Imperial influence was strong, leaving worlds liberated and supplies delivered. Every act was calculated, not violent, but undeniable in its effect. The humans had learned the laws of the galaxy. They had mastered them, bent them, and now used them to show the galaxy a new reality. Freedom was possible. The Empire could no longer dictate the fate of other worlds. Back in the capital, reports poured in. Mining colonies, agricultural, moons and trade hubs, all previously under strict Imperial control, had started declaring loyalty to humans instead. They requested protection, not conquest. The Empire's infrastructure strained as obedience collapsed in the face of human intervention. Admiral Crass leaned over the star map, tracing the last known location of the human vessel. "They move like a thought," he murmured. "No fleet can catch them. No trap can hold them. And they do not need to attack to win." Councillor Varus slammed her fist on the table. "And we strike now. Send every ship we have. Do not wait." Crash shook his head. "We've tried that. It fails every time. They're everywhere and nowhere at once. If we try again, It'll be the end of us. The Emperor finally spoke, voice low but commanding. Humans are no longer a threat. We can ignore, they are a force. They demand change, and they will get it. If we resist, they will enforce it in ways we cannot imagine. Prepare the galaxy for a new order. Every officer and counselor understood the unspoken truth. This was not a war of fleets, not a war of weapons. This was a war of reality itself and humanity. It had already proven it could bend it. The human ship appeared one last time above the capital system. Its hull reflected the light of the stars, calm and unthreatening, yet impossible to ignore. The broadcast came to all Imperial channels, calm and precise. We give the Empire a choice. End the oppression of frontier worlds. Cease the exploitation of colonies. Respect freedom, or you will cease to exist. This is not a threat. This is the law of consequence. We will act according to it. For the first time, the entire Imperial government felt fear. Not of attack, not of fleets, not of war, but of the humans themselves. They had no need for violence. Their presence alone changed the rules of existence. In distant systems, humans quietly assisted planets, repairing infrastructure, delivering medicine, and showing the inhabitants that independence was possible. Every act strengthened their influence. Every world liberated became a reminder. The Empire could not control everything. Admiral Krass watched the reports, silent. They do not need to fire a single shot, he whispered. We are already losing, the Emperor did not reply. Understood, finally, that the galaxy had changed. Humans were not just another species. They were a force beyond imagination. Species whose technology, cunning, and courage made them untouchable. And then, as quietly as they had arrived, the human ship vanished from the capital system, leaving behind only a simple message in every language. We have given the choice. The rest is yours. The galaxy held its breath. For the first time in history, humans had spoken, and the universe listened. The Galactic Empire, mighty for millennia, had no answer. And somewhere in the dark, the humans continued their journey. Unstoppable, unbound, and rewriting the fate of the stars. The age of humanity had begun.